eating there much.
Too.
And the doctor actually acted like he got mad at the urgent care at Airport Snug.
Right now
It
it's
wasn't
on
Dr.
me.
O's.
Yep.
Okay, we will call the Planning Commission meeting, work session for March 8th to order, 5 p.m. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Byrd.
Here.
Commissioner Davenport.
Here.
Councilmember Joyce.
Here.
Commissioner Lovelady.
Here.
Commissioner Lowry.
Here.
Commissioner McCullough. Commissioner Turk.
Here.
Commissioner Whitehead.
Here.
And Chairman Turner.
Here. I wanted to make a note that Mr. Havens has officially resigned from the Planning Commission. He submitted his formal letter. The mayor has copied me on that, and Mr. Whitehead is stepping into his seat. So everyone welcome and thank Mr. Whitehead for his participation. We do appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Do we have any citizen comments? Mr. Byrd? All right, well, there are no zoning cases. We do have a couple subdivision cases to discuss. So with that, I will turn that over to Mr. Franklin.
I'm sorry, I was talking. That was a bad suit right back in that
Mr. Franklin. We're already in subdivision cases. You're up.
Oh, okay.
You may do it or you want to do it?
I'll do it. This is the Magnolia Springs Phase 3, and we're gonna do both of them at the same time, or do you want to get separate?
Well, I got it
separate. Phase 13 is the second to last phase in Magnolia Springs. This was, they've been working on this for over a year now. This is a 48 lot subdivision of the 15 phases. This is number 13. The master plan was approved by Semmes Planning Commission in 2013. This phase was submitted back last year in October 2021, along with phase 15. So they did the construction. Some of the lot grading and drainage didn't match the plans. When we did our final inspection, we realized that there was some differences. So we asked the engineer to go back and look at it, and they had tried to do some, maybe Al can expand on this if we need to, but they tried to do some different things that they thought would help with the setting up the lots for the house pads and things like that. But when we looked at it and then we went back to the plans and it didn't match the master plan, we asked them just to go back to the way it was. We didn't like the way the drainage was gonna affect some of the other lots. So they went back to the original drawing. So that's what took us so long on this one. So they finally went back, got everything fixed the way they were supposed to. They resubmitted their drawings, driven engineering as we went through it. And they sent us a letter of recommendation saying that they approved it and they feel like the city should approve it and accept the infrastructure within the rights of way for maintenance. But this is the final phase that we're asking for you guys to consider. The final plat, not the final phase, the final plat. And so, again, this is 48 lots, minimum lot size 0.27 acres, density 2.48 lots per acre. Lot sizes and dimensions are in conformity with the master plan that was approved. All the documents and fees have been submitted for the development. The lots are zoned R3, which is high density single family, so there's some of your smaller lots. See on the drawing here, this is an aerial of the phase. Is that the whole phase, or some of that another phase? Is that just 13?
Yeah, that's just 13.
Okay. So the empty block there is phase 13 we're talking about tonight. As you'll see, it's right on the boundary of Silver Pine Road. So you still have to enter from the main entrance to get back to it. Okay. Get the plat. This is the entry into phase 13, and the way they had it designed is for some of these lots are drainage is falling back this way, and all of these are draining back to so that's a drainage easement in the middle, which some of it goes this way, some of it goes that way, and it all ends up going back to the main pond. What phase is that major on there? Phase 1 or 2 is the
Yeah,
big pond
it's
at the very front of
it's
it.
the older one.
But these are all the lots. They're, like I said, they're good to go. Everything looks as per plan. 48 lots. And I don't really have much more to say about this one. Do you have anything, Ed?
Do we have any discussion or question?
You want to say anything?
Mr. Joyce? Mr. Turk? No, sir.
No.
Davenport?
What about the trees? Everything's good with the trees?
Well, this is the one that was,
Already.
13 and 15 is the ones that were
Okay.
pretty zapped.
Gotcha.
Mr. Whitehead? Ms. Byrd?
No questions.
Mr. Lowry?
We do,
All right.
have a camera and.
Yes, we did receive the videos of the storm drains, and those have been reviewed, and but the test for the water and sewer lines came back fine, so everything was recommended for approval.
That's all.
So this item will be up for a vote at the next session.
Right.
Okay, we can move on to 15.
Phase 15 is the final phase of Meadow Springs. This has been going on for years and years, and finally got to the end, but it's a smaller phase. It's a 26 lot subdivision, and this one we didn't really have a lot of issues with. It was built according to the master plan, and the preliminary, it looks just like the preliminary plat. Did the final inspection on it, created a small punch list, all those items were taken care of. We received all the submittals that we're supposed to receive, all the fees have been paid. Like I said, everything on the punch list is good. We got a recommendation from Driven Engineering to accept this. They didn't have any issues with it at all. Phase 15 is in the very north portion of the development, northeast section of the development. It's a total of 8.13 acres, 26 lots. These are smaller lots as well, 0.19 acres, normal lot size. Same, about 2.5 lots per acre density. And these will also be zoned R3, or are zoned R3 high density as well. And you'll see there on the aerial map, Jeffrey's got it squared off where this part of the development is. Okay. And this plat's on 2 pages, as it's separated by another phase. These are the two cul-de-sacs off of phase, was it phase 9 maybe? It's phase 9, but it's pretty simple layout here for these lots. There's a road, maybe when he gets to the other phase you'll see it, but there's a road that comes in like this off another phase, and you can tie into both of these, and then this road comes down and ties into the other side of it. It's, we can go look at the master plan if y'all want to. And show. Was it on the second page?
Do what now?
Was it on that same scan?
It shows both of those. It's
Okay.
because both of those cul-de-sacs coming off each road.
Okay, I thought there was another page. Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. Did you, can you go back to the master plan so we can show them
Yeah, let me.
what those 2 phases look like, 13 and 15?
Got it in here somewhere. Tell you what, where it is.
this is not the latest master plan, but this shows you the same layout. This is the 15, and this is 13. Those numbers are off.
Oh, that's the old one.
That's the old one. Anyway, that's all I had to present on 13 and 15.
Any questions for 15, Ms. Royce?
No, the punch list,
All good. Yeah, all those are
and
done.
same with the other one is all done?
Yes.
Mr. Kirk?
No questions.
Ms. Love? Ms. Davenport? Ms. Whitehead? Ms. Byrd?
No question.
Mr. Lowry? All right. We'll have this one on the next session for vote, and with that, I believe we can move into our other items and discuss zoning ordinance amendments. Up first.
Okay, really, I sent those to y'all. I kind of marked it up in red. Went ahead and made the changes and I put them in red. The only thing kind of that we really need to discuss is the newly annexed land. Me and Jason thought that keeping it the same is going to be the best option, as it already is. Automatically comes in as R1, Planning Commission recommendation, then City Council public hearing and approval. Other than that, I don't know if y'all have any comments, questions.
Just to clarify that, what he said, we're not gonna make the change to the way it was written before. We had talked about doing based on the land use, future land use map. And since we don't have that yet, we're just gonna leave it the way it was until we get that future land use map. Then we can think about making changes to that. So that portion will not be updated or amended.
Because there is some in red,
Yeah.
at least on the email.
Yeah,
So
we took it out earlier and
We
said.
talked about today, and
Yeah.
so it's probably, rather than debate that, it's more, just go ahead and leave it off for now.
We'll have that future land use map by the time this year's done, correct?
Yeah.
With the comp plan.
So we can revisit that later. So it'll stay the same.
All right.
Anybody have any questions about the things that Jeffrey sent out?
Subregs amendments?
This was what we passed out last week. Or not last week, last meeting. Basically giving the applicant, when they bring a subdivision, a chance to bring the waiver before y'all first, and getting the waiver approved or denied, and then bringing their subdivision later on in the process. Like I said, this was an idea that me and Jason had, and it's up to y'all whether y'all just think it's a good idea or not. It's y'all's decision.
There was some thoughts about, we didn't want to give them the okay, or let's just say somebody brought in waivers and the planning commission approved them before y'all seen the plat. We didn't want to get them the idea that they're good to go, no more waivers. No more problems. They get to bring the plat in, it's gonna be automatically approved. So I did think about possibly putting some language in there if we want to do this, to say that an approval of this waiver does not guarantee your plat will be approved. If any changes come, if anything different than what we've seen comes up, you will be subject to go before the commission again for waivers. If you want to write some kind of disclaimer, maybe Jacob could help us with that. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Because I could see there would be a potential for that to happen. You would hope that it was all explained, but if somebody brings us a sketch plan of a subdivision and say, look, I'm gonna have 2 waivers, and then they get approved and they come back and that sketch plan is changed drastically, we don't want them to have anything that says, well, you gave us the approval.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
waiver should be subject to the initial submission, and if it changes, then everything's void. It's all, I mean, I think it's a good way to streamline things, a bit.
When we're dealing with fire code, just using this as an example, they use the term informal interpretation. And it gets them around any liability whatsoever.
Okay.
So, that language is used in other parts of code and whatnot. Any further discussion?
I have a question, if I can.
Please.
So, yeah, surprise, Jason. I don't mind. In submitting, what's the submittal requirements for a waiver? Because basically, we have a process, a checklist, all this, what has to be submitted. So are you creating one then for just a waiver? And what about some sort of plat or drawing for reference purposes? Because they're gonna come in and say, well, we wanna do this or that. Well, if it has to do with how the land is, you know, something unique to the unique to the land, so we don't wanna have to comply with this particular regulation or this requirement. But are we gonna have a visual?
Yeah, I think a requirement would be the application, the waiver application, which asks them some questions along with a sketch plan, some type of sketch plan. I don't want, the whole point is to avoid going through the plat, survey and all that stuff. So, you know, a GIS drawing showing, you know, where the line would be. And if they're trying to prove a point or justify something, I would think it'd be on them to show a drawing that's gonna justify what they're trying to achieve.
But do we have to spell that out? Because if it's not spelled out and we're kind of creating a separate process, do we need to like tell them, hey, you know, for now for the waiver, because currently we have a fee, and you have to spell out what it is and which ones you want to be waived. Do we have to do this? And and what if someone's already done their due diligence? Do you have to do this process, or can they just go ahead and submit everything and just do it all at one time?
Yeah, I think we didn't change any of the verbiage. If you wanted to do you're talking about if you wanted to do your waiver along with your, we didn't change that, so you could still do that. This is just another alternate, but, that's my big question.
You spell everything out for your submittals, so in the regs, so I would think there'd have to be something.
Yeah, like a checklist of some sort.
Yeah.
I was thinking we could either change the waiver form to say that part of the application for the waiver would be to submit a sketch plan, or you could put a line in here that says, along with the application of sketch plan, to justify your request.
Y'all would see whatever their sketch plan is before it came to us, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Would the fee that has to be paid, would it be, if the waiver is approved, you pay the fee, or is the fee up front before it's even considered?
My opinion is that it would be paid up front, because you're going through the process of, you're taking administrative time, you're going before the planning commission, so that's my opinion. What do you think? It's $250 fee per waiver. The whole point of it is to recover administrative.
Oh, right, yeah, I don't see any problem with being up front. I mean, as opposed to what, with a preliminary plat file?
Yeah.
I wouldn't think you would waive a fee just because they're doing it separate from the plat.
Now, he was just wondering when it needed to be paid at, before or after. I think before, along with
You mean,
application.
so like, if the waiver's denied, and then you're gonna ask them for money? Yeah.
I think
I think so.
prior.
It might be a good idea to make this uniform, that way we're not getting dozens of different types of sketches. We're not getting all of the necessary information to make them tunnel through the GIS. And actually, you know, you could put a link to the GIS, it's on the Semmes website.
Yeah.
And have them select that particular section, so we get all the information that's coming in is uniform.
Right.
Every time you look at it, you're used to seeing a certain thing, and that puts.
So describe a sketch plan.
I don't know, I'm just thinking they start there for their base, and then they make whatever changes or notes on top of whatever that GIS selection and boundary is set up. That way it's not some hand-drawn, stick-figured lack of info. You'd have more information coming into it. You know, you would know parcel, you get all kinds of different information that they started there for your own research, is just what I was thinking.
But aren't you, you're assuming like an individual's doing it? I mean, if you're thinking of doing some sort of subdivision, I mean, you know, is the individual doing the research to figure out whether or not he needs a waiver, or has he already contacted a surveyor, like Al back there, or engineer, to, you know, handle or process this? So
Could probably go either way.
So you know, I mean, you make it user friendly, but I assume it's more than a, you know, a drawing on a cocktail napkin.
Currently, if somebody, like say I came to y'all, want to do something like that, how much help do you give somebody in setting up their presentation or whatever it may be? I mean, would you be able to say, hey, this is what you need, we can help you pull it up?
We meet with them and we discuss, we'll sit down with them for however long it takes to help them. We don't direct them or anything, but, you know.
When you
tell
could
them
take
what
them to the
do.
website and
Yeah.
say, this is the
Yeah, we could
picture
even
you
walk
need.
through and say, here's what you could do, print this out, crop it out, draw your line on it. Yeah, we can do that.
But to make sure, depending on who they actually talk to make sure they get the exact same information each time, that's why you've got all these checklists and submittal lists and stuff. So it doesn't matter who the applicant is, whether it's a surveyor, engineer, or, you know, just an informed landowner, you know, or educated in doing it, so that they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
We would have their options in there, I guess, you know, say what to do, that you are available to.
Yeah, and we're not gonna let anything come here that y'all aren't gonna be able to understand. We had to draw up something and try to match off to make it look nicer. We could do that to make it more presentable. Yeah, we're not gonna let anything come through here that you wouldn't be able to see or read or understand. Of course, we want it to be obvious and make sense. It's a new process. I mean, we gotta figure it.
Look at that for a while, see how it works out. Worth looking into this.
Are you gonna add the disclaimer to the regulation, or are you gonna add the disclaimer to the form?
What do you think? We could do it either way.
Probably better to have it in the regulation, but yeah, you can do it either way.
Or both.
I'm not, you know, frankly, I'm not that worried about the disclaimer. I think if somebody applies for a waiver, pays for it,
The problem
and it's
comes in
granted,
when you do
and then the preliminary plat shows up and it's got something else.
substantially
then-
different than you.
Well, and how
yeah.
long do they last, too?
Yeah.
How long is a waiver, you know?
Well, this,
Acquisition.
well,
And we do
it's
90
more
It's on
than
there,
that.
90
It's
days,
gonna have
isn't
this
it?
90 days.
That's what I saw, 90 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have to do those.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So, you know,
And then we decide about the resubmitting, if the waiver is denied for whatever reason, how long do they have to wait before they can come back? Did we decide about that?
We didn't talk about, I know the subdivision, we spoke about that last time, for a year, but, we didn't go there.
Yeah, but waiver, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, waivers a good bit different than,
Yeah, we talked about that, yeah.
you know, you can readjust your plat to
Yeah.
not need a waiver.
Mhm.
So I think it's the commission to decide ultimately whether a waiver should be approved, and if it shouldn't, I mean,
If it,
why would 1 year change that?
I mean, if I come up with a waiver that's denied, I mean, we've had situations where you sort of look at how they've laid out what they're subdividing, not meeting the regulation, and if they just moved a line or tweaked it or whatever, and so in theory, they could come back and, you know, not necessarily private road, you know, not certain things that are the sort of standard things that are asked to be waived, but like the road frontage, the acreage sign, they could maybe change something. The waiver may essentially be, you know, captioned the same or say the same, but they tweaked it such that it's not as severe as, you know, deviation.
Or based on the comments from planning commission.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And so in that sense, I don't think you would, I wouldn't think you would wanna penalize anyone for coming back and doing it again. Of course, you know, the fee is a different matter. But.
Because they'd have to resubmit the fee, right? They'd have to do a second fee,
If
is
it's a
that
new
right?
waiver, if it's
Yeah.
denied, then, you know, there's no review process for just this waiver. It's not a subdivision application. That's what I mean, is, you know, you start, it's like law
Yeah.
school exam, you know, you start the what ifs type thing, and you try and catch everything, but you know that what you're gonna get is not what was contemplated.
That is so true.
I was just saying, it should be fairly obvious to anyone that's done this before, and, you know, most contractors have, that just because you get a waiver here, your entire plat's still gotta be in compliance.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
in
think
this
it should ever be
particular
an
process
impression that said,
though.
oh, well, this is good here, the whole thing's good.
Yeah, but in this particular process, my understanding was you're trying to help people out who don't do this every day.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're gonna have people who may not know. That's, you know, we have a level, you know, when I'm sure Jason talks to people, you have a certain level or assumption that the person you're talking to has a certain level of knowledge. Well, this may catch some people that don't fit in that category.
I tell you what though, I'm surprised that the people that usually come to do these things, that they're pretty intelligent and
Well,
they know what they
they
want to do.
hopefully have read what the
Yeah.
city has spent so much time
Yeah.
preparing. You hope, you know.
When it comes to having to spend money, they're gonna read it. And of course, we meet with them and we try to walk them through the process, and I think we can make it work.
Just gonna be for minor subdivisions, or
I'm thinking minor and major. Yeah, minor and major.
So is this something we feel comfortable as written? Is it something that we've got to vote on, or is this just approved formally?
In the past, we've done a resolution, but then there's been other times that we didn't do resolution to pass this, but it doesn't have to go before the plan, it doesn't have to go before the city council.
But wouldn't we be amending the subdivision regulations, so we would have to vote formally?
Yeah, definitely vote, for
Yeah.
sure. But whether we do a resolution or not, like I said, some commissions have and some haven't.
Yeah, you don't have to.
But we would, if you guys voted to approve it, we would get it probated and things like that.
Just Samara, do you have any other thoughts on this?
No other thoughts right now. I just, like I said, I've not seen it in this way, so I can't tell you if I've seen it this done successfully. In this way, I do have some questions in terms of it not running concurrently with the preliminary plat. especially if you run into a situation where a waiver is approved and then they bring the plat to you and now there's more waivers that they need. You know, this one is approved back here, but then we have 2 more, so we're looking, you know, that can potentially get kind of muddy, but I don't think that you'll know until you know, try it, so I can't really say.
Is there a mechanism built in the process, for example, say we get the waiver, there's some issue, and can we table that for a period of time until they get more information without them having to go back and file another fee and start all over?
Before you guys
Yes.
vote on it?
Yes, is there a process or a way to table it without running into some problems, and maybe we could address some of the legitimate concerns
I don't
that
see
may
why. They can pull it
come up?
before as long as it's not voted on, right?
Yeah.
They can-
Yeah.
Okay.
You can table
And
it.
actually,
Okay.
it can
We
be,
could table it
it
too.
can be presented, and the law says you got 30 days to vote for or against it. And if you don't vote, it's deemed approved, but a lot of times, planning commissions you can enter into an agreement with the applicant to extend it however long you want.
Okay.
So does that apply to just a waiver request, or that's
I don't
for
think
subdivision
that's
application?
that's for plat approval.
Right, so waiver approval, does the 30-day apply?
I don't think individual waivers are subject to the same
No,
restrictions.
but it's part of it, no, but I mean, you were just saying about the 30 days.
We can-
I wasn't sure, didn't think.
I don't
it
think
applied.
there's anything that would prevent you from tabling it or anything like that.
Or them pulling it themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
They can always do that.
Yeah.
Alright, so I suppose we will have it on the agenda to vote at the, next session. We can, without any further questions or comments, we can move on to the comp plan discussion.
And Samara said she didn't have anything else to pass out. She wants to hear your feedback from what she passed out the previous meeting. Is that right?
Yeah, if there is any feedback, if not, of course, you can email Jason or Jeffrey and get that, information to me. We're still working on that section, lots of census data, that we're going through. I know I mentioned previously that we were using the 2020 and 2019 data. We decided that we're gonna, just go with the 2019 data. Census data from 2020 is a little, it's lacking a little bit, of course, because of the pandemic. So some of those numbers are really skewed. So to get the best and most accurate numbers, we're just gonna go with 2019 for now. And I say for now, but that may be what we use because we're not exactly sure that 2020 is gonna be accurate, not just for y'all, for anybody. It just got kinda weird. Let's see, the survey, we spoke about that it's gonna end right after your Azalea Festival. I did talk to Diane about you all doing a booth. She said that's fine, just count it towards your hours. We don't need anything, just however long you're out there, we can count that towards your hours. And I did mention to Jeffrey that I would like to do, either within a work session here or another meeting that we actually sit down and take what we have so far. So I'll give you more of a polished document of what we have so far, and we can actually redline it and go through and actually talk about corrections that we could potentially make. And so we can do that in a setting like this for a work session that's a public meeting, or we can do a subcommittee, but it would have to be less than 4, I think, planning commission members, or we can do it at staff level, however. But I would like to go through and actually redline some stuff, so that we're all on the same page. Because September is coming fast, and if we count regular meetings, that's 6 months, so 6 regular meetings until September. So when we think about it that way, that's going pretty fast.
Yeah.
So, just kind of keep that in mind. That's all I have.
Can you send that out a few days in advance?
Yes, sure.
Or as soon as you
Absolutely.
can?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
We're still working on, you know, the things that you've seen before, polishing it up, getting all the census data. I've been in contact with Tyler that does UL's GIS, so we have land use information from him, so lots of moving parts. We're polishing everything up to kind of get to a halfway point, so we can kind of look at some actual document and start seeing what we like and what we don't like.
And you'll be sending the full package we received
Yes.
so far.
Mhm.
I just, wanted to make sure Mr. Whitehead had started receiving these communications and,
I just talked to you, mentioned that to you.
okay, and if you're sending out a fresh copy, he'll get that, so.
Yes, yes.
Get you up to speed.
Anything else for me?
How's the survey going so far? Can you keep track of that?
Yeah, we have 440. I lied to you the other day. It was 430.
Used to it?
Yeah, I said 430. I said 443 is 434, but we got 440 now.
Which is really good, because I spoke with my director and she said that typically if you get 3% of your population to participate, you've done really good. So right now, that's, you all are
Almost
tracking,
10.
right,
10%.
tracking really good, so we're excited about that. Anything else? That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, that seems to be our agenda for today. If there's no further discussion on any other items, looking for a motion for adjournment.
Hey, I will ask real quick, if you guys have any volunteers for the 20th for the Zay Festival, I don't know if you guys are gonna do like a sign-up sheet to try to pass out any surveys that comes after the hours, and we really would probably appreciate the help from the planning commission if y'all, have anybody that's willing to help out. We're gonna also have, Public Works there passing out, the Public Works Committee passing out annexation information as well. So, sorry to interrupt you, sir.
That's all right.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Turk and a second by Ms. Lovelady at 5:38 PM. We are adjourned.
Good move there.